5 years in India. Today, I wanted to talk about, personal transformation as a precursor to social change. I'm not going to talk about myself, I'm going to talk about the community that I worked with. Because one thing I realised when I was out in India especially, is a country that has great policies. It has great rights, Bill of Rights, it has great constitution, it has amazing policies. You go through these amazing laws, it's a beautiful, beautiful democracy. And on paper it looks great. But the difference is that though the policy says this is how something should be done, when the policy is only effective, that change is only made when a clerk sitting in the office decides that's what he wants to do. And that's what I wanted to get across, was that even though it's how do we change the big ideas we have? How do we change, all these great ideas, these great theories? How do we make those into realities? And the key that I found in India was it wasn't even technology, it wasn't policy. The key was the individual, because things will only change when the individual changes. If that's an individual villager, if that's a clerk, if that's a mayor, if that's Obama, but when the individual changes is when change happens. So I'm going to talk about a community that I work with and how they changed when I worked with them. Next, hey, this is Bhuj. I was in Bhuj, is in northwest India, far northwest of India. I was on the border with Pakistan. Bhuj is it's the last city before the landscape becomes desert. So it's a city that the villagers run to when your crops have failed, when you want to grow up, when you want to pursue your dreams, you come running to Bhuj. So Bhuj was the last frontier town in North Gujarat. Just check my notes where I'm meant to be. I was there with the grand aim to bring social change in this city. It's a small city. It's about 250,000, if that, people. So the smallest city. And I thought that's what I'll do. I'm here for a couple of years. We can change the city. And specifically, I wanted to work with the urban poor, the yellow patches are the slums in the city. That's what people call them. They call them slums. The people who live there call them something else. But they're the yellow slums. The centre is a lake. Okay. Next. So this is one of the communities I work with. These are some of the women there's a slum called Bapadayanagar. It's on the outskirts of the city. It's a Muslim community, and they live next door to a Dalit community. And the lady in the middle, that's Hanumasi, and she's one of the women I want to talk about. So Hanumasi, she must be, I think, late 40s. Really bad age. She's about late 40s. She has 2 grown-up sons, a daughter. Her husband's like a labourer, gets occasional work on a construction site. She was part of a women's group that was set up by another NGO. And the women's group invited me along to one of their meetings. Now, I worked for an architecture, engineering NGO type firm, so they invited me along and they thought, Prashant, we want to make a school. Because what's happening, because they were Muslims and they were the Qalis, the government school that they went to, there was a lot of discrimination, they got a lot of bullies, it was kind of far, the teachers were absolute souls. And so they said, their solution was, let's start our own school. They called me along because they thought, well, you're an architect, you work with contractors, maybe you can build this as a school. Next. Yeah, so this is typically how they live. So we sat with them, and I had a really good team that was with me that guided a lot of the work I did. So we said, could you build as a school? And I was like, I don't quite think that's what I'm here to do. So we sat down and we had some discussions, and I said, okay, and we finally came up with a plan. Next. So this was our school. So this is how our school ended up. The women got together, there was a plan. I said, if you buy a green map, can you see this green map on the ground? So they bought a green map, and they bought this rolled up blackboard, isn't that plastic blackboard, you roll up, stick on the wall, and they bought a box of chalk. So the women from the 2 slums got together, 15, and bought one of this. And I said, if you do that, then I'll pay for a teacher to come every afternoon for about 2 or 3 hours and, impart education on your kids. This is the purpose to do. This is something that you guys want, or what it was. And so every afternoon, there's one
happened was a tall wall in the slum, and it gives a lot of shade. So we slam our mat down, the kids would always come around, and the teacher would come and he'd be birthday was great. All the parents were there watching their kids, first time this happened, and all the women were really nervous because it's their first project they've done before. Like, can we do this? And all the kids came, about 20, 30 kids came, and it was great on the first day. And so I thought, great, our first project success. The women were like, great, first project success. Now went off, feeling a bit big. Two weeks later, they called me and said, Prashant, can you come to our meeting? So now, how you doing? How you doing? Like, oh, Prashant, you know what it is? Our kids, right? So, it's great. Kids in school, the teacher's great with it. Our kids, they have anything to write on. We don't have anything to write on, So I was wondering, could we get some chalk and some, little slates for each kid? Our first quiz. 30 kids, so it would have cost, something shy of £4, it would have cost, 30 kids, equipment. And I was like, yeah, sure, £4, what's it to me? And the guy, social worker, wasn't it? No, let's not do that. Let's get them to do it. And so I went to the room and I said, look, I'm an architect, I don't do blackboards and chalk, but look, I know some shopkeepers down in the French there. Now, for the women, this is a big deal. They were happy to talk to me. I went to their slum, talked to them in their slum. We took to step outside of their slum, go to some shopkeepers who were definitely at a higher cap than them, and even Muslims as well, and ask them for something free. So they were being there, do shopping, let us in, we're not going to get it.
It's not going to happen, it's not going to work, and they were really, really nervous, really, really concerned. And they were like, finally, like, out of the room, 3 women got together to know we're doing this. So they walked to the market on a Saturday, and I get a phone call in the afternoon. Prashant, we bought all these slates, you gave them for free. And they came back to the slum, and everybody in the slum was amazed. These women had gone out, and it was a tiny thing. It was like an hour's work in the afternoon. But they got 30 slates for their kids, and slates for their kids, and they got some chalk. And everybody in the slum were like, wow, look at this change these women have made. These women were like, wow, we can really do things. Actually, there was a bit of a backstory to that. Was 2 weeks before the shopkeepers had heard what we were doing, and he had actually offered to give some slates for free. And I said, like, don't worry about it. When we need you, we'll call you. So I actually sent them to his shop, because this, it was a bit cheeky, but this was their first challenge. And I didn't want them to fall down on their first challenge. So about six weeks later, we used to tour around the slums. So I went back in, and the teacher's there, and it's like 4 kids. I said, 4 kids in school. I was like, what's going on? And I go talk to the women now. I was like, where are the kids? What's happening? You've got your chalk slates, you've got your mat, you've got your blackboard. The teachers come in, and they're just like, oh, Prashant, it's really working. And
the school just died slowly. And it's really harsh. For the women, it's harsh. For me, it was kind of harsh. This is my first little project I've done. I was like, you just go back, and it's like the mat stored in someone's hut. The kids are running around on loan, and the teacher just like this doesn't turn up anymore, and I'll stop paying her. And I just like, I'd lose it as well. So that's the women, what's going on, right? What's happening, and next, maybe? Yeah, and they just wouldn't take off for saying they kept coming up with excuses. I just couldn't get to the number. And then Hanuman, the woman in the beginning, we'd always have meetings in her hut. And so she'd have a veranda outside. So after the meeting, all the women would go home, and I'd sit and have tea with her, and we have tea with her. And that's what's going on. We knew that we were an architect, and we engineers were contact engineers. So that's why we had to go to school, because that's what we knew, what you had in your pocket. You knew when you stepped into our slum, you can build it in your pocket. That's the actual building. And I said, but is that what you wanted? That's not what you want. That's not what we need. What's the problem? I said, look around you. Look what we do all day. And basically, what the slum was a big city, and it did not get any running water. They literally went to port like 50 miles to the railway station to get water, or they go to another slum or this area. The women would work in a middle class area, and they're paid in water. And this is what they do. This is how we're living. We're seeing like this isn't how the world is. I've seen how people live, and people have to get water that comes out of tap. That's normal. That's how the normal world lives. And all our kids spend their time doing this. Every time the water comes up in nearby slums, everyone's So I said, okay, so what should we do? So all the women got together and they were like, look, so, and what they usually did was, you got 2 minutes. Okay, so, so what the women would usually do is they'd roll up to the mayor's office and they'd like sit outside and oh we want water, we want water. If there was an election coming up, they'd go and deal with their councillor and we'll get these two slums to vote for you if you give us water for a couple of months. If you could put a pipe in, that would be great. And this is how they dealt. This is how they saw their strategy. So when I sat down with them, what we would do about water, they're like, well, this is what we've done in the past. What's the success been? I'm like, for 2 weeks while we're making some noise, and if it gets some media attention, we get water. Once the media's gone, once we get a bit tired, the water gets switched off, goes to a different area. So let's also being like an architect and engineer, so let's try and understand the situation. So we went with the women, and instead of going to the politicians, I went to the water engineer. We went to the water engineer of the local authority. I said, what's wrong with the slums? Why aren't they getting water? He goes, oh, it's not even a political issue. What it is that the city got its water from about 5 villages, about 12, 15, 20 kilometres away, and pumped it to the city. Had a couple of high tanks, and then it got pumped out to all the slums. The slums were on the edge of the city, so they always got the water at the end. And by the time you guys get it, these guys were on the last end of this line. By the time you guys got it, the water's been stolen, the pressure's so low, they literally have to dig down about 20 feet to get any water, to get the pressure out of the water. By the time it comes to you, you won't get water. So when these politicians come and say they're going to give you water, they technically can't give you water. So, they can do it by diverting you from somebody else, but as soon as that slum, or as soon as that middle class people come to trust to their mayor, your water's being switched off, and they want to say, okay, now they had like a brief look, and we understand that it's not their world before them was limited to the council and the mayor. That's where they thought change happened. And now it's oh no, there's something beyond the mayor. There's a technical issue. So then we went to talk to a geohydrologist. Next, geohydrologist. We went to talk to a geohydrologist and a couple of science type people. And Budge was built on an aquifer, sandstone aquifer. There's a lake. This is a view of Budge. There's a massive lake in the middle of the city. The reason the city was built there is watershed. They did all these calculations and look, there's drinking water for all the citizens for the next 15 years if we can make it more efficient. Amazing. So basically what that meant was we digging a well. Oh, that's brilliant, let's do that. With our own well, with our own distribution system, we never have to go to these councillors again. So next, they call this big community meeting. The women, they're really hyped up now. We've got the solution for that one. They call this big community meeting. We'll do this. And they called the council, and the council came around, and we sat there. It's great. You didn't even know this one existed. You didn't even know this was in the constituency. The woman rang me and said, "Sense of equality in the slums." See? On the slums, that you down the road from we spoke to you in the last election, he saw me. And we had to guide him in, and he came to me. And he was stood there, and so he goes, "No, you go, stop. Don't worry, I'll sort this out. You're going to build your own well, I'm going to talk to the mayor, I'm the man, I can do this. You don't need to do this. You sit down, you be quiet." That's great. We were like, okay, maybe we need it. I was this process, this took a 6-7 months. And that was fun. So they let the council go, and then they went to called in to the mayor, they've built that whole, these women built that whole program. These women can't do anything. We can't do anything. Our school fails, our water fails, we're just going to go back to what we were at. We just done that. And then, Solanky called me and said, "Prashant, can we talk?" Okay, I'll give you Precursor. Can we talk? And she said, "Look, can we actually try and sort this out?" And she was just asking people to say to women, like, 6 hours to get to, you have 5 people. So pong and you do hand pong. Set a timer level to your ball hole. So you have a little hand pong and you tap the hand pong right there. That's easy. That's what you can do. If you can, if you can support it, that's something you do every time. It's also swimming with it. And it won't be to the whole swim, because that's 20% house. And I was like, it's not the great grand scheme I want to do the entire world, but it's one company. Next, this is the hand company there. So we've got 20 or 30 households, everybody chips in a bit. We've got a contractor, the builder, the tester, and then we've got the water. Next, and this is it. They invest all their money. They invest all the people, all the children, and a massive movement. And also, invite the mayor. This is the mayor, this is the guy who would have come in, wouldn't even let them in their office. They invite the mayor to come to our opening. Come see what we've done. And the council's next to him. The guy with the hands on hands, he's the mayor, the guy with the glasses, he's the councillor. And he was there, because, look what I did with my people, the mayor was an amazing councillor. And he was like, yeah, whatever. And he was like, and at the meeting, Hunamaki was so clever. I didn't know she was going to be there. She stood on the stage, I was doing all the technical. Also, we've got this plan for a well, I should show that big well idea. And the mayor was like, why haven't we been told of this before? And the council was like, why haven't I been told of this before? And the mayor was like, right, we're going to support this, let's do this. And next, this is the group for next. So, and the community, we're going to host as well. The community, there's a little pond next to the front. The community clean the pond at that. To save about, must have been it's clear the entire pond, the community came together, and like, because if you're going to use on the aquifer, you have to make sure you're going to clean water there, and this was used by cows and buffalo and stuff like that. They cleaned it all, the community got to clean it all. The municipality, the mayor spent his own day to do it next. That's Hunamaki, that's still around. And then they didn't know why. Next. They actually use it to be very good. So they dug a well, and then so it's almost then that story. Next. And so they were so. Okay, good. So just how I want to end it was, I knew when it all came together for me, with one day in the height of summer, we'd come out the mayor's office. I've got in the Hunamaki, come to the mayor. Nothing was worth killing came, and we started doing this model of about 4 or 5 kilometers in the city. And so we just, Hunamaki got to speak to the mayor, and we walked out of his office. And there's a wall outside the office, with just people winning. Old women, and they're like this, and they're like wailing, and they had their hand back there. And I just walked past them, and I know my sister sat there, she passed out, and I'm like, what's up? Why you sat outside, how's the dog sat there? It's off one day, it's on the other day, just this fight next door, come to school, just go this whole story. I want people to see what we do. We'll keep you up and we'll host you people. And so that was the same woman who like 16 months before was afraid to go and ask for a bit of support and then now she's leading a little, water well revolution building. She's going around helping these slums. And then after doing water, they need like a housing. So they set up a savings group and they started building houses. As well, and so that's how it changed. That's how the Hunamaki Action was planned. I know you have the Hunamaki market, and it's important to realize that it's these individuals that make things happen. It's not just maybe just trying to be individuals, and a lot of the stuff you can't stand for, you can't write it down. And it's what Indicorps did to me. What was the journey that Hunamaki went through, and the same journey that I went through.